What's good, everybody? This is Otis here, and this is one of my funnest games that I've had in a really long time in Battlefield. It's been getting bored for me lately, but it seems like every time when I start playing with other people again, friends and just random subscribers and stuff, I just start having a lot of fun. And this was the second half of a gameplay where the first half I ended up stealing their Huey, and I had this squad and some other random guys, and we flew around for about 15 minutes, so we ended up finally getting shot down. And this is after I ended up getting shot down. I went like 23 and like 8 or something like that towards the last half. We lost at the very end. It was one of those just like heartbreaking losses, and I got after that too, just because, well, when it's so close, when they play it with like 1 or 2 tickets left, it's such a horrible feeling. I got my first 5 kill Huey. It was the first time I've ever killed the Huey where the thing was completely full. I've got a ton of quads before, but never actually got my 5 piece from it, so that's pretty nice a little bit towards the end. I do have some atrocious RPG shots in the beginning where I should hit the helicopters, and then towards the end when I've got little more difficult helicopter shots, I end up blowing the helicopters up, so it kind of doesn't make sense. I know I started a little slow after that, but or after I got out of the Huey, but I ended up picking it up at least, and almost winning. I did the one cardinal sin of rush where if the enemy team or the attacking team is under 10, you got to stay near the MCOM, and I ended up running away trying to get the last kill, being all, oh, I'm gonna get the last kill, and they go and they snuck by and ended up planting, which, you know, it's kind of unfortunate, but it does happen. So these are the little sex topics that I have today. The first short one is death by cunnilingus, and so this happened in Brazil about a month and a half ago, to where a wife was trying to kill her husband, and so she decided to put poison on her vagina, and she wanted him to perform oral sex so he could eat the poison and end up killing himself. And so what ended up happening was he went down to perform, and it just smelled bad, and for some of those people it can smell pretty bad down there sometimes, but he knew there was something wrong, and then she started getting all dizzy and wobbly, and so he ended up taking her to the hospital, and that's they found out she ended up poisoning her own vagina to try to kill him, which is kind of weird, and happened in Brazil. And he at least drove her to the hospital and everything, which is, I don't know, at least nice. But once they got to the hospital, they figured out he was trying to kill her and stuff. He ended up going and pressing charges on her. So that's that's a little life lesson, I guess, for everyone. If you go down and it smells, just back away, because she's probably trying to kill you. And so the next little article that we got is, do dishes have less, doing the dishes equals less sex? And so basically what ended up happening is there's been studies, a couple studies, I think like 3 or 4 in the last like 5 years, saying that if men do dishes, you're basically going to have less sex or more sex. The very first studies that started coming out about 3-4 years ago was saying that men were having more sex, and then now some of the more recent studies is they're saying they're having less sex. And so basically, if you go back and you look at the very first articles or the scientific articles, and you look at them, basically what was happening is men who were doing equal or more housework were getting more sex. But now what the current research is showing is they are still getting more sex, but it's not as good as they want it to be, basically, or even both the couples too. I think it was the ages of 18 to 59 for the study, and they're having more sex. They looked at 4,000 heterosexual married couples in the U.S., which in itself is probably pretty hard to find, because it seems like everyone's divorced nowadays, where if you're not divorced, you're not cool, which is kind of interesting, kind of off topic on that sense. But basically what they found out is they would have sex about, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a week. The average sex per week, I think, for a normal couple is, I think, about like 2.5 times a week, something like that, which is normal. I mean, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, depending through the whole year, but overall it's all right. But basically what they were saying with the whole study is you're getting quantity over quality, basically, when you with all the house chores and stuff like that. So that's kind of an interesting thing, to where you're getting more sex, but you're not just satisfied. Which, I don't know, they're planning on doing more research of of figuring out maybe why the men aren't satisfied, and the women sometimes too. So that'll be very, very interesting once they do more studies to look into that. It's probably maybe after a while, I would guess that a lot of men are just maybe they just feel demasculine and they just they're just having sex just to have sex, which is kind of interesting. And with the last article that I have today is a study that came out that scientists said condoms don't ruin sex. Now, personally, there's a difference. Like there's a considerable difference. Some people can't stay hard when you put a condom on. Some, although very, very rare. I think it's about like 1% of people allergic to latex. They have to use either sheepskin or some other type of condom. But basically for this one too, it was typically for sex studies, it'll be between like 18 and 36 or 18 and 49 is usually for the couples. But this one was 18 to 59. And the results showed that men and women consistently rate sex as highly arousing and pleasurable, with few different bases on or differences besides based on the condoms and lubricants. So they're basically saying that overall, with the whole study, that people don't care whether they used condom or lubricant. It didn't matter for the pleasure for them. And what's really interesting too, if you go and you dive in and look at this study, is it's basically saying consensual. Both couples are wanting it. Both couples are excited for it. They're both in the mood, because there's times too where one couple or one not one couple but one person in the couples will not want to have sex, blah blah blah, for whatever reasons, whether one's tired, whether one's working more. So that's kind of very interesting. I know if you probably talk to most people, they would say, it doesn't matter how thin the condom is, what kind of new ribs, dots, features, or whatever. And most girls too, here's a tip for you: most girls don't like any of those fancy retarded condoms, because it honestly just hurts them sometimes, which I would say for my experiences, they just want the regular plain Jane condom. So, and that's another thing too, if you're gonna use it, please use a condom, unless you're in a absolutely committed relationship where you're not cheating, they're not cheating. You definitely have to trust the person, but you can't get gullible too. So it's just something to watch for. You don't want to get your partner pregnant, or you get pregnant, depending on if you're a female or not. So that's just something to keep in mind too. But this is what they said: as the U.S. continues to grapple with high rates of sexually transmitted infections, HIV, and the unintended pregnancies, said the lead researcher, Dr. Herbernick, which is kind of a funny name. But we need to understand how people make choices about the products they use or avoid using, and how these products contribute to the safety and the pleasurable aspects of the sexual experiences. And so basically, another thing what this study did too is they really have a hard time in Texas and the South, where sexual funding is always getting cut from the Reds, from the right wing people. It's kind of unfortunate too, because that's where you'll have higher rates of pregnancy, higher rates of disease, of the infections and whatnot, because they call them sexually transmitted infections now. It used to be sexually transmitted diseases, but then they figured out you can cure them, so they're not really diseases, and so they're technically infections when you go and you look at it. So that's kind of interesting too with that aspect of it. But they definitely wanted to do more studies on this, they're saying. And so this was posted about I think it was about 2 weeks ago in the Indiana University with the School of Public Health, which all universities have a School of Public Health division where they basically just do sex related things. And if you're ever interested in doing a very fun job career, and that'd be going into sexual experiences with doctors, universities. They do such weird, crazy type of experiments basically at the universities and whatnot. But I know this is wrapping up here. The gameplay is pretty much towards the end. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I definitely will be doing a lot more of these. Excuse me, it's like my cough again. I'm getting a little sick, so that's gotta come. I haven't been doing a lot of commentaries lately, but hopefully you guys enjoy this. I definitely want to do more of these. If you guys like them, let me know. And thanks for watching, guys.
Oh my god. Oh shit. What the fuck? Oh. Ja. Ja. Ah. Oh, that. Yes. Oh.